All right, people, midweek report time. So, lot to talk about, lot to dissect, lot to get into, but obviously, it goes without saying, right? We have a big card on this Saturday night. The bulk of this video is going to be previewing the Day of Reckoning. It's going to be talking about the fights that are on the card. It's going to be giving my 2 cents on some of them that I didn't do a full-length video for. It's mainly going to focus around that. Mainly, right? And I want to start with that card because I want to just preview every fight that's on the card. Now, BoxRec have it on their sheet here. They have it on their, event page. Whether this is the running order, I seriously doubt it. But we'll go through it the way BoxRec have. We'll preview all these fights. I'll give a pick on them. And look, I'm not a betting man, right? I'm genuinely not. But if there was any betting website that had odds on every fight, not necessarily the outcome, but just every fight ending by knockout, regardless of the outcome, I'd be putting money on that. Because honestly, I could see a scenario where every fight does end up with a knockout. I'm not saying that necessarily will happen, but it wouldn't shock me, given we're talking about big guys. I mean, light heavyweight is the smallest weight division on this card. It's crazy. But let's start with the one that's at the bottom, least competitive in my opinion, and I think in the majority of people's opinion, is Filip Hrgović, Mark Demori. I seen Mark Demori on the pads doing the public workout. This guy, I have seen OAPs move faster than this guy. Seriously, it is. He looks slow as molasses in there. This really shouldn't be happening in this fight. I just don't understand why. Filip Hrgović, there has got to be better guys in the top 80 at heavyweight better than this guy who you could have fought. So I understand, you're mandatory. You're not obliged to fight, dangerous opponents every other fight. You're not. You're not obliged to do that. Right? Look at Joe Joyce. It backfired badly on him. But surely there's a level you can go below. And this has got to be that. Yeah, it's a run out. Listen, if Filip Hrgović isn't getting rid of Mark Demori in a round or two, and I mean like a round or two, honestly, if he's carrying this guy, or God forbid it's anyway remotely competitive, then, serious question to be asked about Hrgović, where he's at. In terms of Frank Sanchez Jr. Fa, I do worry a little bit about that fight, that might end up being a bit of a dull affair. Look, Frank Sanchez really should win. If he's a little bit more aggressive, he should get Junior Fa out of there reasonably early, maybe 4 or 5 rounds, maybe 3 rounds thereabouts. But I worry that fight could end up being the stinker on this show. But Frank Sanchez is a better fighter than Junior Fa, much better. He should win this fight reasonably comfortably. Then there's the fight that's a bit of it's an interesting one because, Arslanbek Makhmudov, we all know about him, very talented fighter, massive puncher. But Ajay Kabayel, we only really seen him against Eric Chisora. He won the fight, it was in Monaco, but that was 6 years ago? And he's really been just in obscurity since then. Bear in mind, that was for the EBU title, which gets you a decent ranking. It gets you in the top 15 of the sanctioning bodies. It, should propel you onto world level. And this is a guy fighting, I can't even remember the guy's name, Rudenko and Kevin Johnson. Still, now, fighting once a year. Really strange the way Kabayel's career has gone since then. And against Eric Chisora, in that fight, although he won it, it wasn't a fight where you'd look at and think, oh wow, we've got a potential future star in our hand. The way sometimes you see an away fighter come in, they win, and he was the away fighter, it was on a Matchroom show, it was in Monaco. He comes in, he wins, and you think, oh wow, I gotta look at this guy, I gotta keep there was none of that with Kabayel. None of it. It was just kind of like, okay, did Chisora just not turn up, or is Kabayel a bit better than we thought? It was kind of that type of, you didn't really know, was it one or the other? And he's done literally zilch since then. I worry, will he be a bit negative for Arslanbek Makhmudov? But ultimately, I think Makhmudov will end up getting the KO. Jayapataya versus Elizara. They have it down here as a 12-rounder. Is it still, obviously, I would imagine that the ring title be on the line? Obviously, Jayapataya has vacated his IBF title. It's really, I just don't see why the IBF had to go down this road and make this so difficult. I really don't. The counter argument could be, why don't he just take it as a non-title? But maybe they wouldn't even let him do that. And if that's the case, then come on, IBF. I understand that yous are strict. You try and enforce things. You prioritize your mandatories. You don't mess around. I get that. But if your mandatory gives his blessing, if your mandatory says he won't be ready until the middle of next year, just let him have his fight. Let him do it. I don't see the point in that. I do wonder now, because obviously Myris Briedis got installed as mandatory after the Riakporhe fight went pear-shaped. And Ben Shalom, we know what he's like. He wants to keep it all in-house. Would he do Riakporhe versus Briedis then? For the vacant title, would Riakporhe have a leg to stand on about going and potentially fighting for a vacant title? Because then you could do him, Bill and Smith as a unification. I'm just thinking outside the box with that one. But yeah, Opetaia Elizara, I expect Jay Opetaia to win this fight. I expect him to win it fairly straightforward. I mean, for me, the question is really, is Elizara going to be more or is he going to be less competitive than Jordan Thompson? Because you would say they're roughly in around the same level. The big worry I have about Zara, I've said this a few times in videos, is that this is a guy who went life and debt with Dex Spellman people. Dex Spellman was a career light heavyweight and he wasn't particularly good at light heavyweight. And this guy going life and debt with the guy. I think that was only last year, or I think it was actually last year, 2022. That's really not good. I mean, when I seen that, I remember watching the fight. It was actually a pretty good fight. I think it was in the York Hall. But I remember watching it thinking, damn, I would not be getting my hopes up with this guy. And now he's fighting Jay Opetaia. He could prove me wrong. I mean, at the first press conference, he didn't really sound particularly confident. Just because he doesn't sound confident doesn't mean that, he's not. But I wouldn't be envisioning him doing much in there. I think this is another 3-4 round job for Jay Opetaia. And we'll see what he does in 2024. Dimitri Bivol versus Lyndon Arthur. Again, another guy who doesn't sound particularly confident is Lyndon Arthur. After that Anthony Yard loss, he went off and, he's not looked particularly good. His last fight, he really went life and debt with the guy, was able to get the guy out of there. That was for the IBO title. And now he's going in here with Dimitri Bivol. Bivol has been out of the ring for, over a year now. It was November last year he fought Zurdo. And last year, tremendous year, Canelo and Zurdo, in fights that both of them, weren't really that competitive. So, tremendous from Dimitri Bivol. We know how talented he is. He's one of the most talented fighters around. He is tremendous. Would the ring rust maybe, come into play a little bit? Yeah, it's possible. But I think that there is a chasm between Lyndon Arthur and Dimitri Bivol. In one sense, you could look at this fight and say, really, Arthur? But then again, you look and you think, well, if you take Beterbiev, who's fighting Smith next month, it's fairly thin at light heavyweight in terms of real talent there. There was talk he'd fight Richard Rivera, who obviously is a cruiserweight, and that would have been a bit more interesting. I think that fight, I would have been picking Dimitri Bivol, certainly, but I think that fight would have been a bit more competitive than this. Bivol hasn't scored a knockout since he stopped Sullivan Barrera in the 12th round. I think that was March 2018. And before that, he won the title. Actually, he won on the same card as Caballel versus Chisora, if I'm not mistaken, in Monaco in 2017. First round knockout. Trent Brackhurst, was that the guy's name? I don't have his box record up. I'm just going off memory here. I think that was the guy's name. Knocked him out one single shot, big right hand in the first round. Bivol has power there. He's not been showing it lately. I think against Lyndon Arthur, he's going to show it. And I think that the skill gap, the chasm, everything is so big that we'll see a knockout in this fight. I suspect. Could be wrong. Bivol could just outpoint him. We'll wait and see. Then we get into the business end. We get into the big business end of it. Miller, Dubois. If you haven't seen the press conference, if you haven't seen Miller this week, he's been animated as he usually is. But the back and forth with Dubois, I didn't think Dubois had it in him to really have back and forth with Jarrell Miller, but he did. He obviously got a new lease of life. But Jarrell Miller said, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you just lost a word beginning with V. That right there, honestly, it was just, Miller is something else. Whether you like him or dislike him. And I can understand why a lot of people will dislike him. And me as a person, I think he's a complete scumbag. But at the end of the day, this guy can trash talk with the best of them, and he is funny. Just because a guy is a bit of a scumbag doesn't mean there aren't things you can enjoy about him. And I really did. When I heard that, I was like, oh, that's what you call a comeback. I mean, you really got him there. Like the press conference, like the trash talk, I think this fight is the fight I'm most looking forward to. I've obviously done my prediction video on this, done very good in terms of views, really good actually. And I picked Jarrell Miller with no great degree of certainty. And I said that in the video, I don't like sitting on the fences. I always like to, even if I'm wrong, just say this is who I'm going with. And normally I tend to stick with that. There have been times where I've changed my pick late and I've said, look, I was going with this guy, but when you reflect on it and you really think about it, I'll go with this guy. But I don't like sitting on the fences. I was close to it this time. My pick still is Jarrell Miller late stoppage. But again, I say that with no real great degree of certainty. I say that as a kind of if it's the Miller or close to the Miller of old, yeah, I think he wins. How much of that do we have left? We don't know. Apparently, he's talking about weighing 328, so he's still going to be a big boy in there. It's really going to be an interesting fight. It's the fight I'm most looking forward to. Now we get into the business end, the two main events. Now, before I talk and preview the two main events, I will go back to what was said yesterday, which was from Dan Raphael, that it's reportedly now fully agreed that the two-fight deal for both Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua to face one another, planned for March the 9th in Saudi Arabia. It's claimed the contract is expected to be signed before these fights, obviously before they fight in the weekend, and obviously on the assumption that they both win. So Wilder versus Joshua March the 9th, reported, it's reportedly March the 9th. Let's wait and see what happens after each's respective fights, if they announce it in the ring or whatever they do with that, remains to be seen. But two-way deal, two-fight deal for both guys. It's a fight we all want to see. Undisputed is already signed. It's sealed February 17th. This is just, the icing on the cake. It really is. If the Undisputed fight is a fine main course, this is a lovely glass of wine and a nice dessert to go with it. That's really what it is. I hope we get it. I hope that report from Dan Raphael, and Mike Coppinger was the one who originally broke the story a week or so ago. I hope that is also true. I really genuinely do. In terms of both their respective fights, Joshua versus Valeen, I think Joshua is going to win that fight. I think he's going to stop out of Valeen. And I'm a lot more confident picking Joshua than I am picking Deontay Wilder. Don't get me wrong. I'm fairly sure that Deontay Wilder wins. But that one right there, him versus Parker, that's the one I'm a little bit more worried about. I'm a little bit more worried about that one than I am with Anthony Joshua versus Otto Valeen. I think that Joshua is confident. You can see that. I think Wilder is also confident. There's so many unknown factors about Wilder. We are talking about him a bit like Miller, with the assumption we're getting the Wilder of 2018-2019. We don't know that. He has taken two big beatings against Tyson Fury. It didn't show up against Robert Helenius. Robert Helenius is a very run-of-the-mill heavyweight, plus Wilder knew him like the back of his hand. He sparred him God knows how many rounds, so he knew what to expect. Parker, different kettle. Much better fighter than Robert Helenius. Much better. So it's going to be real interesting to see what happens there. That's one that I'm genuinely looking forward to. I can't wait. Well, I'm looking forward to all the fights, but that one, there's so much intrigue. In terms of some other news, that's the card pretty much previewed, by the way. We will be doing a live watch along. Let me know in the comments, because people are saying, and yeah, I've seen that it's a 4 p.m. start time. What time is Ring Walks expected to be at? Because obviously with the Fury and Ngannou one, oh good lord, that was a fun watch along, but it was hard. I know some people would look and say, oh, you're doing a sit and watch. It's not easy sitting talking for 3 and a bit hours. It's harder than it looks. I can understand why commentators need rest in between, because it's a lot of work. It's not easy talking for 3 hours and keeping it going. My question would be, what time is the Ring Walks report to be at? Because Fury and Ngannou, they were saying it was going to be like 10:30. It was nearly midnight. It was unreal. So, I don't like streams going over 3 hours. I don't really like that, and I don't think the algorithms do either, truth be told. So I like to try and keep it in around a good kind of solid time frame. So that's what I got to say on that. In terms of other news, Ryan Garcia has declared that he has now instructed his team to start negotiations with Devin Haney for a fight at £140 for Devin Haney's world title. Apparently, these guys met in the amateurs 6 times. It's 3 apiece. If they made this fight now, I'd make Devin Haney favourite. Ryan is game. He's a good fighter, but Devin Haney is just way. I think he's just a superior boxer. Ryan's speed would be interesting, but I wouldn't be picking Ryan Garcia in that fight, in my opinion. I wonder, will Golden Boy just look to go down the road of, see what O'Hara Davis does, match O'Hara Davis then with Ryan Garcia if he beats Barossa, and then have Ryan fight Rowley, get a world title. So I reckon that's, in my opinion, I reckon that's more than likely what they're looking to do. I suspect anyway. Now here's a real interesting one, and I'm really, this is great for Tyson Fury. It's really good for him. So apparently he has Moses Itauma in sparring ahead of his fight with Alexander Usyk. So he's already started sparring. Now there was talk that maybe he wouldn't be sparring until January. So he's already in camp sparring, which is good. Getting your camp in there early. The 2 sparring partners, and I might even do a separate video on who I think both guys should spar. But the 2 names that come to mind, now one of them cost a lot of money, and he's fighting this weekend, Jai Opetaia, and the other one is Moses Itauma. Now with Opetaia, you're going to be talking about a guy similar dimensions to Alexander Usyk. He's not talented, but he's not a million miles off kind of replicating somebody. I'm not saying he's not Alexander Usyk, but he's not, for dimensions, speed, a lot of things he could do similar. With Itauma moves quite well, very, very fresh, only 18, he's not even 19, I think, until next week or the week after. So those 2 guys, both obviously southpaws. Itauma is a little bit taller than Usyk, he's heavier, probably, I don't know about his power, maybe he probably does hit a bit harder, actually, truth be told. Hand speed is absolutely electric on Itauma. I mean, combination punch, and this guy's hand speed is already up there. So he has at least one great sparring partner in Moses Itauma. I think it's excellent Tyson Fury has him in camp. And for Itauma, sparring the likes of Tyson Fury, being his chief sparring, I would imagine chief sparring partner ahead of this fight, he is going to learn so much from him. And, Moses Itauma, I think, what was it he said at 15, was leaving his school bag on the ground and then getting in the ring and sparring Lawrence Cody. And doing very well. Even Cody attested to that, doing very well. So this guy is, honestly, precocious talent is young Moses Itauma. And Tyson Fury, really, really, really good sparring ahead of Alexander Usyk. And I'm glad he's sparring now and not leaving it later. Because if you start sparring in January, and Usyk is already doing it, he's going to be a bit fresher. Time is going to be better. So I'm glad he's doing it now. I'm really glad to see that. And again, Jai Opetaia would be also a choice I would get in. But at the end of the day, I understand he's obviously fighting, and he's probably going to want to relax a bit over Christmas. And by the time maybe he's ready to spar, could be winding the camp down. So and he'd probably be expensive as well. Moses Itauma, that experience is, I know it sounds bad, but maybe he is getting something, I don't know, but experience at that age, sparring Tyson Fury, I mean, that's payment in of itself. Jai Opetaia ain't going to be doing it for free. I'll put it like that. Bam Rodriguez has now entered the Ring Magazine pound for pound rankings. Tremendous fighter Rodriguez is. I don't do pound for pound myself. It's something that I've never really gotten into. I just think it's the concept for me. Terence Crawford for me probably is the best fighter in the world, and that's really that. I don't go with could have knew it's just I don't get into it. People like that, I say I don't really get into it. It's just not my kind of thing. Jake Paul has announced that he'll be training with the Team US Olympic Boxing Squad in Colorado Springs ahead of Paris 2024. He will also travel to Paris with the squad to help promote them as he partners with US boxing. With boxing being in, in uncertain terms going into the next Olympics, having Jake Paul, obviously, I don't know if he's putting any money into it, but just having someone like that, it's going to be good. Apparently, he's fighting again in March. Let's see, got a good win. Obviously, he was in there against a nobody, but still a boxer, and it was a good big KO, big uppercut. So let's see. Jake Paul, is he trying to work towards that rematch with Tommy Fury? Who knows? Dmitry Bivol has confirmed that he's now signed a 2-fight deal in Saudi Arabia. First fight in the Arta this coming Saturday. Second fight, the winner of Smith versus Beterbiev. He says, I have a plan to be undisputed and I can see it's now very close. I've kind of resigned myself almost to the fact that this fight won't happen. Now, obviously, if it is Smith beats Beterbiev. Well, actually, regardless if Smith beats Beterbiev, because obviously the WBC, that scumbag Sullivan, with that absolutely absurd sanction that he has over fighters from Dmitry Bivol's country, that should never be in place, and it should be removed instantly. Will he do it? It's Sullivan. I'll leave it there. I will leave it there. I like this fight, but I think the wrong guy is in there. So it says here, Bob Arum said to Fight Hype that Vasily Lomachenko versus George Kambosos for the now vacant IBF title reportedly finalised for April in Australia. I like the fight. I really do. I genuinely do. I think the fight is absolutely great. But at the end of the day, Kambosos lost his last fight. Although officially it's a win, he lost it, in my opinion. That should be Maxie Hughes in there. It really should. That should be Maxie Hughes in there. That's who I think it should be. Now, I'm going to go on to IBO. IBO, International Boxing News. Or I think it's International Boxing News. Yeah, IBN, sorry. They have the IBO like symbol, International Boxing News. They are very good with fights that are reported and rumoured for down the line. Now, there's talk of a show in Belfast, January the 27th. It's reported that Siobhan Clark versus Tommy McCarthy for the IBF International, bit of a tricky title, cruiserweight title could be on the table. Now McCarthy is obviously a Belfast native. He lost recently to Mikhail Cieslak in Poland. I think that was for the EBU title. He got stopped in that fight. Haven't really been massively impressed with Siobhan Clark, but Tommy McCarthy is looking a bit jaded at this point. It's rumoured that Lewis Crooker is looking talented. It's looking likely that he may headline the bill. Obviously, Conlon Boxing are working with Eddie Hearn. A lot of Conlon's fighters will fight under the Matchroom banner. It's a bit of a kind of promotional deal. Well, it's a bit of a but Conlon, I think they're promoting / managing. Obviously, Hearn is the guy doing it with the Zone. And look, those Belfast shows are normally quite good, so it's going to be interesting to see who he's fighting and who else is on the undercard. As I said, he got a win over Tyrone McKenna. So let's see. What else do we have in terms of fights that are being rumoured? Gavin Gwynn versus Yvonne Mendy. Yvonne Mendy still knocking around? All right. I wasn't expecting that, to be honest with you. Because, Yvonne Mendy, geez, he beat Luke Campbell years ago. And then it seemed like he's just he lost, I think, the rematch to Luke Campbell. And it just seems like he's kind of mainly just, stagnated. He was still useful up until a few years ago, but I'd say probably now he's probably looking on the other end. I know Gavin Gwynn had that fight against that Italian guy who was 40 something years. I think he was like 46, 47, some crazy. Didn't fight like a 46, 47 year old, I'll say that. I will say that. Let's see. Let's go on Boxing Scene before we finish this up. I think we've gone just over the 20-minute mark. But let's just see, is there anything else? Eddie Hearn on revisiting the Joshua Miller fight. If the public is desperate for that fight, who knows in the future? I'm more desperate to see the original gloves are off. Boxing lost media, that is. I think we all kind of want to see that. Boxing lost media, if ever I seen it, is that. John Fury could see upsetting Joshua Valine. This is a bloody hard fight. Yeah, look, John Fury, how many times have they picked against Anthony Joshua? They picked Charles Martin to beat Anthony Joshua. If it was someone who was a neutral observer, I'd be saying, all right, let's have a look and see if they make any valid points. And if they were neutral, John Fury ain't neutral, to say the least. John Fury ain't neutral, to say the least. Jack Cattrall versus Richardson Hitchens, IBF title eliminator, heads to purse bids January the 2nd. The winner will be mandatory for Subriel Mateus. Good luck with that. To the winner of that, good luck with that. Joshua admits confidence grew watching Fury struggles with Ngannou. I'd imagine a lot of people in the heavyweight division, their confidence grew watching that fight. So he really, like that, yeah. Adam Boot, Josh Kelly is ready. Any of them, he beats them all. Is he talking about world level? I seriously doubt that. One of the flaws I had with Josh Kelly, and I still do have it, is that he makes mistakes in there, but his athleticism, Adam Boot is not a bad trainer with the right style. but he needs the fighter to have certain dimensions and certain attributes. If you don't have that, you're screwed. Simple as. If you don't have that, it's not going to work, right? And Adam Boot loves athletic fighters. He loves fighters with a great degree of athleticism. Josh Kelly has that. But the problem is, Adam Boot, his whole style is really kind of tailored on his fighters having really, really good athleticism. If they don't, or if they don't have the punching power, or crucially the arm length, people don't talk enough about that. You need the arm length to pull that style off. You're up, you know what's creek without a paddle. And Adam Boot, very good trainer for boxing psychology. Really good at that. Really good. I think he's a degree in sports psychology as well. But in terms of being able to have fighters, switch it up on the fly, change things up, it's really kind of, if this don't work, we're screwed. And that's pretty much Adam Boot's whole style. So he may say, I've never rated Josh Kelly, as you know. I think he's better than certainly some of his competitors at domestic level. But in terms of him going on to world honors and mopping up at world level, I don't see that. I really don't. And 154, yeah, expect to see titles going on. But would you pick Tim Tszyu over Josh Kelly? I think he would. Josh Kelly luckily got a draw, very lucky to get a draw with Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson is not a good welterweight. I'm not talking about the Sugar Ray. I'm talking about just Ray Robinson, the guy he drew with on the undercard of Joshua versus Ruiz 1. That's Josh Kelly. No disrespect to the guy. Now, he may be a little bit better at 154, but still, at the top level, I don't think Josh Kelly really has it. He's got world-class athleticism, but that's it, really, That's my thoughts on that. Other than that, I think we are pretty much good to go. I think that's pretty much it. So I will leave it there, people. I hope you enjoyed the video. Look forward to Saturday. We might do a final thoughts live stream tomorrow. We'll do something. We'll do something tomorrow. Of course we will. Keep this going. We are 160 subs off 15k. 160. That's it. And we have 15k. I would love to do it this weekend. Nice little Christmas present. Christmas Day, 15k. There you go. Let's do it. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Lads, I'll leave it there. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. For now, as I said, I'll leave it there. Enjoy. Peace.